Okay, firstly, nice job, Mr. Brown, on the selection of this week's motion. With the recent controversy between Perez Hilton and Miss California, this really couldn't be more pertinent, and it certainly achieves debate vlog's purpose of remaining topical and interesting. To begin my contribution to this week's motion, I'd like to start out by introducing a point of contention between opponents and proponents of same-sex marriage that is mentioned a lot, but has gone unexamined in every debate that I've ever seen. It goes something like this. An opponent of same-sex marriage will oppose it on the grounds that marriage is valid, or is a valid governmental contract, only when it ensures, or at least makes likely, procreation. Procreation, of course, is good, and yada yada yada, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but essentially the opponent of same-sex marriage concludes that marriages that are not designed for the purposes of procreation are invalid or insignificant in the eyes of the government because they do not serve any social or societal purpose that could not otherwise be achieved by a single person. Now, this argument is usually rejected out of hand by both proponents and opponents of same-sex marriage. They realize that this would proscribe marriages of the elderly and infertile, and for this reason reject the justification wholesale. This is a mistake, however. The category heterosexual fertile couples cannot be invalidated because a small part of it lacks the necessary characteristics. Now, a good analogy for thinking about this would be an example of firefighters, which the government does sanction. The government does this with the justification that firefighters will extinguish fires, i.e. a social good. However, in a particular fire station, the firefighters have become old and their equipment has broken. Despite no longer being equipped to extinguish fires, they are still considered firefighters. Why? They are considered firefighters because they resemble firefighters in every way, despite their being unable to fulfill the basic function of one. Now, the government justifies allowing infertile and elderly couples to marry because, first, checking medical records is a violation of patient-doctor confidentiality, but more importantly, because heterosexual marriage promotes the idea of heterosexual marriage. Every bachelor party, wedding ceremony, and honeymoon is an advertisement for marriage. Young, unmarried couples and single people alike are forced at least to consider marriage whenever they are confronted by the image of one. I'm going to leave that argument there, but I'm happy to come back to it if I'm challenged, which I should be. It's an argument that's open to many easy challenges. Finally, I'll just conclude by saying that it's a little tedious to listen to people lazily justifying government-sanctioned same-sex marriage because, quote, it doesn't affect me, why should I care? First, this is an interesting issue, you should give a damn. There'll be a lot of interesting questions that have absolutely no impact on you, you should still think about them. But most importantly, the proposition of a law is either good or bad. If we're going to adopt or change one, there needs to be a good justification. Not having a reason to oppose same-sex marriage is not the equivalent of offering an argument in support of it. Thanks.